Hello, everyone. I'm Ziwei Yan. I come from APEE, and today is an honor to give a presentation about my dissertation. My topic is the impact of the emission trading system on corporate ESG performance, evidence from China. Firstly, let me introduce the background of this research. We all know that global warming is worsening, and the government from the whole world are trying their best to enact a series of policies to alleviate this phenomenon. The emission trading system as a typical market-based policy, unlike the conventional monetary policy, it stimulate the cooperate to gain benefits from reducing carbon emissions. On the one hand, the cooperate could gain benefits from selling extra allowance in the ETS market. On the other hand, they can achieve their social responsibilities by reducing carbon emissions, and this could give them a lot of financial benefits, like increase the investment and elevating the financial constraints. So based on this kind of background, my paper is about how ETS could affect the ESG performance, which is a representative of the corporate sustainable behaviors. Actually, nowadays, there's some literature identify the impact of the ETS on ESG. However, there are some limitations regarding policy analysis, data processing, and identification strategies. There are some common issues include ETS treatment grouping mistakes, outdated ESG data, and unsuitably for the conventional DID method. This kind of limitation destroy the accuracy and the convincing of their empirical results. So based on this article tried to solve this problem and fill on these gaps. This article employ a time-varying DDD model to precisely assess the impact on the ESG performance. Actually, I choose this model for two reasons. On the one hand, China's ETS policy is set up for 3 phases and within 8 regions. So this is why I use the time-varying model. And secondly, actually, the ETS in the China is just impact the firms on the control list, which means it's not all the enterprises in the pilot zone are being affected. That is why the traditional DID methods may expand the sample. So that is also why I use the DDD model to more precisely identify these characteristics. So then, as you can see in this formula, this is all the main regulation formula. As you can see that to the left of this equation, this is our outcome variable, it's the ESG, and the beta 0 is the intercept term. Beta 1 is what we are really interested in. It reflects the relationship between the ETS and ESG, and this is our DDD interaction term. We also control the covariate regarding the cooperate, including the cooperate financial factors and also the governance variables. And we also control the two-way fixed effects between firm and year and between industry and year. And in addition, we also control the fixed effects at the individual level and year level. Finally, the optional is the residual term. And then let's focus on the empirical results. Firstly, let's focus on the descriptive statistics. As you can see, this is the all variables we are using in the research. You can find that there are 3 sources of ESG score. The first one, SNSI ESG score, is for the meaning regression. And the second and third, the STGF and Blomberger, is for the robustness test. And you can see that the main value of the ESG score is 73. And then let's focus on this side. This is our baseline regression. As you can see in the first column is about our main regression. You can see that the coefficient is as significant at 1% level without adding any of the control variables. And in the column 2, after adding all the covariables, it's still significant at 1%. And it means this coefficient means when we add 1% of the ETS stand error, the ESG score could promote at 0.759. And based on that, I also conduct a lot of robustness tests, such as policy exclusive, the common control test, and the placebo test, and included the laws and the prices, but based on the limited space, it doesn't show here. So if you're interested in that, you can ask me later to send you. And then let's focus on the channel moderating effect and the heterogeneous analysis. Firstly, let's focus on the table 6. We have known that the ETS could promote the ESG performance from the baseline regression. But what about the mechanism behind this? So in the table 6, we illustrate this. You can see that from the column 1, the ETS could promote the event pattern, and this could promote the ESG performance. Due to the characteristics of the event pattern, have the lag effect. So I use the lag data for analysis. It's still significant at 1% level. And then I also conduct the moderating effect. As you can see that for the firm who are using the Big 4 company to auditing their information, the promotion effect could be amplified. And finally, about the heterogeneous, you can see that from the table 8 is about different regions, and table 9 is about different firm characteristics. In the table 8, you can see that it's only significant at Eastern region, since this kind of region in China is economic development, which means firms can more engage in the ETS. And in the table 9, only state-owned enterprises and low technologies are significant. And finally, reflecting my academic journey, doing this research, I encountered some challenges such as sample selections and choosing suitable identification strategies. And I also learned a lot from this. The first is it's really important to conduct in-depth research. Actually, during this research, I do in-depth analysis about the policy documents for China's government. And then I use this kind of analysis to choose the most suitable identification methodologies. And secondly, it's really important when you're doing a research to break through and innovate. Actually, it's my first time to apply the time-varying DDD method as the primary identification strategy. Before that, I just used the DDD strategy for the robustness test. But and actually, when I reading the literature, I found that most of the literature just use the conventional DDD. So, but this is not suitable for analysis this problem. So I discussed with my supervisor, and we believe that the time-varying DDD is more suitable. So actually, I think sometimes when you're doing a research, it's really important to break the mold. And in this case, of course, it needs to be suitable, and you can contribute the methodological contribution in this field and add new evidence. And in the future, I probably refine my paper by manually screening all listed companies in ETS pilot control lists to further refine sample accuracy and continue to employ the DDD method for causal inference studies if it is suitable. So in conclusion, I really appreciate for all the help and assistance from my dissertation supervisor, Alexei, and my program leader, Catherine. I also really appreciate all the help I received during this year. It's really great year in the UCL. Thank you so much.
Great, Veronica. Thank you very much for all the nice words. And of course, I mean, for this interesting presentation. It's really nice to see how much you actually enjoyed working on this topic. So just to say that we also have some time for questions. So please feel free to submit any questions you might have for our presenters. If it's okay, can I also ask you something on this, mainly because I mean it's a challenging research question, the one that you try to touch. So have you considered other kind of parameters that can play a role that you may not consider on your modeling approach, mainly because of lack of data or difficulty in integrating? So.
Oh, well, actually, although in this methodology, I have choose DDD for further clarification to focus on the sample in the industry level. However, it's not so as much as exact, although it's much better than current literature. So that's why in the future, I want to do complex work by manually screening all listed companies, since actually all the database I use is from the Asia list company in China, but it's not all the companies in the control list or the Asia list. So which means this will lead to the expand of our sample. So in the future, I will manually selecting as exact as possible to choose and clarify the most accurate sample for this research.
Okay. And in terms of data availability, did you found sufficient data? What's the gut feeling? I mean, was it a challenging part of retrieving information and data?
Well, actually, initially I conduct this research in UK, but you know that my research is about China, and I found that it's really difficult to access the document with UK websites. So that's why I back to China and I access to the China's government website and download all the documents. And I think it's really challenging that you need to read really carefully about the policy documents so that you can know how to identify the ETS group. For example, I was considering why so many literature, they just focus on the ETS sum instead of just focusing on more specific industrial level. And I think this is mainly because they just consider about the region instead of reading the policy itself really carefully. If they read it really carefully, they can see that this kind of list is just focusing on the heavily carbon emission industry or heavily polluting industry. So I think that's why there's some limitation for the current literature. And that's why there exist some gaps that need me to fill it.
Okay, great. thanks a lot. Thanks for the discussion and the presentation.